Ladies and gentlemen, this is Victory Day today. We are celebrating the 70th anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe. Please let me remember this day with an iconic rifle, the Soviet SVT40 semi-auto rifle. This was a highly advanced infantry weapon in the 1940s. But the metal itself is not enough to win a war. You need the man to hold it. On the internet you can read many bullshit about like the power of the Red Army was only the great numbers. Never believe this. It is true that they were defeated in 1941, but as the war progressed, the tactics, the soldiers, the officers developed highly. The Russian soldier, the Soviet soldier, was always ready to sacrifice his life for the motherland, for the family, not for communism. They were tough enemy. We know this in Hungary because we have quite 100 years of experience fighting them. But let's learn a bit of military history now. Let's understand the basic principles of the winning combined arm tactics of World War II, the Soviet deep attack theory.
The greatest question of military sciences in the 1920s and 30s were how to avoid the static warfare of the First World War. Both in the western and eastern part of the Eurasian continent, strategists were working on principles on how to combine the activity of the new combat arms of armored troops and air force with the infantry. The most important theorists of the west side were Lidlhart, Fuller and de Gaulle. In Germany, Zeigt, Emansberger and Guderian developed the new combined arm tactics. But maybe the most advanced theories came from the Soviet Union. The main question of the Soviet military experts was how to penetrate quickly the depths of the enemy corps. Vladimir Triandafilov developed the combined arm principles. Gregory Isserson worked on the principles of the deep attack with airborne troops deployed in the back of the enemy seizing the vital points before the attack. But it was Mikhail Tukhachevsky who perfected the system of the deep attack. The system was divided in 3 steps. First step, the Air Force deploys airborne troops to vital points and prevents enemy resources to be brought forward. Second step, the first wave of fast-moving heavily armored vehicles and mobile troops breaks through the enemy lines. Their goal is to penetrate the tactical depth and reach the strategical distance. Third step, the second wave invades the hole penetrated by the attack echelon, widens the gap in the enemy line, and destroys all remaining forces, securing the success of the attack. This principle is very close to the principles used by the German army in the first half of the Second World War, which is not really surprising as the Soviet army and the German army had a really fruitful conversation prior to 1941.
Speed, aggressive attack, overwhelming firepower, and penetration deep into enemy territory. These were the basic principles of the new doctrine. But it was time to find a new rifle for the job to replace the World War I bolt-action rifles.
Fyodor Tokarev was already working on a gas-operated semi-automatic rifle in the early 30s, while his biggest competitor, Sergei Gavrilovich Simonov, was also working on a new design to replace the bolt-action Mosin-Nagant rifles. In 1935, trials were held to decide which rifle to accept for service, and the winner of these tests were the Simonov rifles. The AVS-36 was a short piston-stroke, gas-operated rifle firing the standard 7.62x54 cartridge, with a vertically locking bolt.
The Simonov rifle proved unreliable during the field test, so in 1938 new tests were carried out against the Tokarev rifle.
The question was raised to political levels, and in the end Stalin himself decided in favor of his personal friend Tokarev. The SVT38 was pushed into service, and the mass production started in 1939, just at the beginning of the Second World War. The SVT38 saw action in the Finnish War, but it was a bit too heavy for the soldiers, and they found it too heavy to maintain. There were problems with the design of the magazine catch as well. It could fall out easily. The system was refined by reducing the weight and solving the magazine problem, and in 1940 a new, lighter and better version was pushed into production. The original plan was to give semi-auto rifles to 1/3 of the infantry, but this was never achieved.
During the war, 1.6 million SVT rifles were produced, but the Mosin-Nagant had to be pushed back into production again because it was cheaper and faster to manufacture.
The SVT40 is a gas-operated design with a short-stroke spring-loaded piston and a tilting bolt. It was designed to accept stripper clips, but it has a removable magazine also for 10 rounds. It fires the same cartridge as the Mosin-Nagant rifles and light machine guns. The 50-meter group was not bad, but not good either, but it was quite comfortable to shoot the rifle. The recoil is absolutely controllable and the sight picture is clear and nice.
The Russian factories are not known for making precise arms, but in fact the SVT rifle was the finest they can do. It was much more precise than the Mosin-Nagant rifles, but still it had some quality issues. One of them was that the metal parts were not fitted well to the wooden parts, so the grouping of the rifle tended to move vertically. Also, I have to tell you that there are not too many guns I saw blowing up during a range session, but in fact the SVT40 is one of them. The problem was caused by the firing pin, which was broken, and it got stuck in outer position. So when the rifle was repeating and it tried to push the cartridge into the chamber, the cartridge exploded before the breech was closed and locked. So luckily no one was injured, but the rifle went to the trash. So whenever you use an SVT40, I strongly suggest you to use safety glasses.
There were never enough from the SVTs, so usually squad leaders, platoon leaders and trained marksmen received it. It was also used in sniper role with PU scope mounted on the frame. The mounting rail was nailed on the frame of each rifle. I know that any bolt-action rifle beats this group, but from the tactical point of view, the accuracy is still okay at 100 meter.
In the eve of the German invasion, the Soviet infantry platoon had 4 squads, each squad including 11 soldiers, 1 squad leader, 2 armed with submachine guns, 6 armed with rifles, and 2 operating the light machine gun. Each platoon also had a mortar team with 4 soldiers. In 1942, the casualties were so high that there was a need for a reorganization. The number of soldiers in the squad was reduced to 9, 6 armed with rifles or submachine guns, 2 operating the light machine gun and the squad leader. This team was more flexible and presented a higher firepower if equipped well. The high casualties of 43-44 resulted in a reorganization again. The 4th squad in the platoon was eliminated, but the number of soldiers was increased to 11 per squad. The basic aim was to arm all of them with semi-auto or automatic weapons, but in fact this goal was never reached.
This particular rifle was manufactured in 1941, just when Germany attacked the Soviet Union. The SVT is a good rifle, but still it looks like as the finest tool the designer had was an axe. But whether we like it or not, it is extremely comfortable to shoot thanks to the reduced recoil. The bolt itself absorbs a huge part of the kick, and also the muzzle brake is a great help in controlling the rifle. This is something that you don't see on too many military rifles. The rear sight is adjustable for elevation, and it is graduated to the maximum of 1500 meters. The front sight can also be fine-tuned in windage and elevation. The safety is easy and practical to use. It just blocks the rearward movement of the trigger. The magazine catch is improved compared to the version of 1938. The lever can be locked, so the magazine cannot fall out accidentally. The piston is located above the barrel, and the size of the gas hole can be adjusted with a simple screw to keep the rifle functioning, even if it is dirty. The metal and the wooden cover of the barrel is ventilated to help fast cooling. The disassembly of the gun is very simple. First check if the gun is unloaded. Now push forward the cover of the bolt and press the end of the recoil spring to pop out from its tube. Now remove the cover and remove the spring with the rods. Slide back the bolt. There is a position when it is possible to tilt the handle. Now let it go forward and it's out. The bolt itself is inside the housing. The firing pin has a spring to push it out of contact with the primer. To disassemble the piston assembly, first release and remove the cleaning rod. Now it's time to remove the barrel band with releasing its catch. Now you can remove the covers of the piston. At this stage you can easily check how the piston works. The gases push back the piston that forces the bolt to go rearward. To remove the piston, just pull it back a bit and it will be released from its housing.
And the best use of the SVT is when the zombies are coming and you have a clip full of 7.62 ammo. Let's roll. Well, some of the zombies survived, but anyway, it's a fun gun.
Russian guns are crude and simple, and the SVT is not an exception. But I guess this is what makes them so successful. If you own one, you can be sure that it will be a rifle after the nuclear war as well.
So, ladies and gentlemen, happy Victory Day to you all. I hope you enjoyed my little time travel. And please, don't forget to push the button and subscribe to the Cap and Ball YouTube channel. Stay tuned.